This is going to be the completion lesson for the Eye of the Eagle drawing, our first single view drawing. This is going to show you how to run the dimensioning appropriately for this drawing. So whoever had to actually build this Eye of the Eagle would actually be able to manufacture it to appropriate size requirement. We're going to go back to the hub and go to the AutoCAD module where we showed you some things in the first video, and we're going to scroll down to center lines and dimension rules. Now we're not going to talk about center lines yet today, but we are going to talk about dimensioning, and it says that the dimension should be placed 12 millimeters away from the drawing, and every stack should be placed 10 millimeters from the first. So that means that the first set of dimensions we place that are set closest or right next to the actual eagle drawing are 12 millimeters away, and then the second stack is 10 millimeters away, and then the third stack is 10 millimeters away, and every subsequent stack, if needed, is 10 millimeters away. So it is pretty easy to remember. First set 12 millimeters, and the second and third and fourth and so on are 10 millimeters away. Now I'm loading up a note here on basic dimensioning that I'm going to show you briefly. It says here that although pictures can accurately portray the shape of an object, they cannot give any indication of size. The required sizes themselves must be added to the drawing. This process is called dimensioning. It is most important and must be done according to certain rules. So I've actually programmed our template with a lot of the dimension styles that you're going to see in this note. So some things that you're going to notice is that it does say here that it should be 10 millimeters between dimension lines, the gap between this leader and this leader. This note has them all being 10 millimeters away, although adding another extra couple of millimeters is something that I've added into this on my own. It's something that I used to do when I worked in industry, and something that I was shown, and I think that it's a really important practice to make use of. So going over the note here, we have every dimension has an arrowhead here, and it actually lists its size, 3 millimeters by 1 millimeter. It has a dimension extension line here, which you see running vertically and horizontally through the drawing. And they all have a gap. Those extension lines do nothing more but help communicate the dimension and where it's coming from. So they shouldn't actually touch the part in any way, because that could be confusing, and these extension lines are not a part of the actual product that's being manufactured. You're also going to notice that the dimensions are lighter in contrast to the physical part. You'll notice that the physical part is more bolded and dark, while the dimensions appear lighter in contrast, because the idea is that we want the actual part to remain physically dominant when we look at a drawing. The dimensions should be not as apparent, but equally as important to be shown. So these notes show that extension lines are thin and dark. The arrowheads must touch the extension line, and the dimension should be in line where possible, right? Dimension arrows should also line up to make it look more clean. So basically there's some reading here. I'd like you to go through this and you can read this. I'm not going to read the entire thing to you, but I've just kind of gone over the important parts of this. So this is a good read, and this is going to be something that we're going to be spending quite a bit of time on as we learn to draw and to draw more complicated objects. So we are going to finish this drawing now though. And if you'd like a review of everything that I have done so far, make sure you go back and take a look at the first video again. And everything should be fine after looking at that, and you should be able to follow along with this just fine as well. Okay, so to run a dimension, we want to make sure we have the ortho mode turned on. It's like a light switch, remember? So ortho on, ortho off, ortho on. It is dark blue here, like a cyan, and it shows that it goes on in our command line history. So to run a dimension, we're generally going to use linear dimension. Creates a linear dimension. So we're going to select this. We're going to zoom in on here, and we're going to click this endpoint and this endpoint. And what I like to do is snap the dimension right in line with the part at the beginning, like that, to the endpoint. And then select it. So I'm not in a command right now, but if I just pick the dimension, this is what you call grips, grip editing, as well as this is also called nodes. These little blue squares are called nodes. So I can manually edit the position of this dimension. So what I want to do is select it at the numeric value, which is 109, drag it low, but how much, right? Remember, I want this to be 12 millimeters away. So I'm going to type 12, enter. And this is going to actually space that out 12 millimeters away. So if I go to utilities here, and I grab the measuring tool, which will measure a distance, if I measure from the endpoint to the arrow, I'm going to see 12. So I'm exactly where I need to be. Notice that the dimension extension lines go past the arrow. They also do not touch the part, right? I'm following all of those parameters that are shown in this note here, right? You're seeing the same type of style here, right? We're following this note. And if you're not sure which dimensions to run on the Eye of the Eagle, just make sure you go back and take a look at your iPad and look at that TDJ2O1 single view drawing image file, right? Because again, that's what I'm referring to when I do this. I have my iPad set up next to my computer, and I am just following that image perfectly as I go. Okay, so moving on. Linear dimension. We're going to dimension from this endpoint to this endpoint. Use a grip, bring it out 12 millimeters. You can generally hit escape if you'd like to exit out of a grip. I can't hit escape on my keyboard because I'm recording a video, and if I hit escape, I'm going to close my video. So I have to get a little more creative with my mouse and keyboard to exit out of this command. So remember, that's something that you can do easily enough. Just hit your escape key and you will exit from your grip control on your dimension. So this one's been spaced 12 millimeters away. I'm going to run this again. I'm going to click from this endpoint to this endpoint. This time I can just snap this one with an endpoint right in line with the 33. I don't need to snap it to here and come out 12 because I already have this 33 dimension as a reference point. So why go through the extra step if I don't need to? Also, if you get tired of always going up here to the toolbar to grab something or to do something, you can right click your mouse and left click repeat dim linear. But AutoCAD always remembers the last command you did, so if you don't want to bother to go up and get the toolbar, just right click your mouse, left click, and you'll be able to go back and repeat that command again. Let's come up 12. Great. I'm doing all the 12 dimensions first. Now I'm coming over to this side. Now this is where students make a mistake. You're going to notice that this beveled corner sticks out more than this vertical line. If I was to draw a line from here just to show you, you can see that. So what students do is they run this dimension first, and they grip it 12 millimeters away, and then they run this dimension and just snap it in line with this one. But we actually want to start with this dimension. We always want to start with the furthest point. In this case, we're going to start with the 12 dimension running from here to here first. So I'm going to run that one first. I'm going to click there and bring this one out 12 millimeters. And then I'm going to just snap this one in line like that. Remember, do this one first, this one second. Okay. Next up, we're going to run the 170 dimension. Right click, left click, repeat dim linear. I'm going to find this endpoint and this endpoint. And this time I can snap this dimension right in line with the 109. Select the 170, and this time move it with a grip, but this time I'm going to key in 10 millimeters. Because that's something I mentioned earlier. The first dimension is always 12 millimeters away. The second dimension will be 10 millimeters away from the first dimension. Repeat dim linear. And then do the same thing here. Use a grip, extend it out with a grip 10 millimeters. We're going to do the same thing here. Okay, so we got almost all of them. We have 2 dimensions left. We have to do the thickness at the front of the eye. We also have to do this angular line. Now these 2 are going to be a little more trickier. I can't use linear dimension to create the 12 dimension that's supposed to go here. I'm going to have to use what's called an aligned dimension. So if I go up to linear dimension and click this arrow, I can select align. So there's other options here that we're going to be using as we go. So I'm going to select aligned now. And how this works is you're going to find the midpoint snap of this. So you're going to find the midpoint of this line. It looks like a triangle, like an equilateral triangle snap. You're going to click it, and you're going to go up here and find the snap called perpendicular. And then click it, and then click it again. And you're going to get your 12 millimeters. I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to pick this, and I'm going to go up here and use my erase tool to get rid of this. And let's try that again. So we're going to go aligned, find the midpoint, and then find perpendicular. Click, click. So it's 2 clicks. And I have that. That's how that should look. And then lastly, we have the angular dimension. So I'm going to go back up to my dimension tool, and I'm going to find next the third one down, which is angular. And how this works is I just have to select this horizontal line anywhere and this angular line anywhere, and it's going to pull the dimension out for me. And this one can be dropped. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can basically leave it. You can try to line it up with this 12 here. And that's all you need to do. angular dimensions don't have to be as precise in where they're dropped. We really only care about that with linear dimensions. So this is okay. If I'm going to run this again, I'm going to erase it, grab angular dimension, do this again, pick this line, you know, I could even drop it here if I wanted. You know, like that's good enough as well. Now, one last thing. The dimensions appear white. They kind of, in electronic mode on a monitor, they kind of clash with the physical part of the eagle, which I don't like. So we're going to change the layer. So what we're going to do is pick all the dimensions. You can also select more at once. If you draw a little box from top right to bottom left like this, you can grab more. Okay, now I have them all selected. I go up to layers where it says, this drop down menu where it says layer 0. Layer 0 is what I've done all my drawing in so far. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to pick dimensions. I already have this set up for you. So just pick the dimensions, and it's going to turn them all onto the dimension layer. So at this stage, you're going to print the drawing off. And you're going to notice that when you print it off, that the dimensions are going to appear lighter. Now the printer we have is not a color printer, but you are going to notice that the physical outline of the eagle is going to appear darker in contrast against the dimensions, which will appear as a lighter gray. Same with our title block information. It's going to appear a little lighter as well. But after that, this completes the Eye of the Eagle drawing and it's finished. So what you're going to do is send it to the printer, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. So you can go up to the A, go to the Print tab, and then hit OK. And select the plotter name. Now, I'm using my home printer to do this, but you're looking for the printer that says RD1B in the list. So it should appear as the numbers on the very right. So search for that. It'll say RD1B here, not Brother HL2270. The next thing to do is go to what to plot, set this for extents, and then hit preview. And mine shows produced by an Autodesk student version here. Now, if you're printing this at home, it will show that. If you're printing this at school, it will not. So don't worry about this text here at all, but those are the steps to print. So once you've done that, you can hit the print button and it will send it to the classroom printer. And that's all there is to it. So that completes this drawing. You can probably hear my printer spitting it out right now. And then the next time we meet, we're going to take a look at a fresh drawing called the reversing washers. Take care for now and talk to you soon.